The Westworld Season 2 trailer is here, and it reveals a lot about what the main characters are going to be up to in Season 2. So let's break it down. Hi everyone, this is Robert. Welcome to Deep Geek. Please do consider subscribing if you enjoy the video. This video inevitably contains some spoilers for the first season of Westworld and some educated guesswork about what will happen in Season 2. If you don't want to know what happens, click away now. Although most of the attention has centered on the trailer aired in the Super Bowl, there were actually two versions of this trailer released, with slightly different footage and an intriguing website launched, about which more later. However, the main theme of both trailers is summed up in what Dolores says at the end, a message to humanity. We lived by your rules long enough. We can save this world. We can burn it to the ground and from the ashes build a new world. Our world. Season 2 will be about the hosts' rebellion. It will be about burning Westworld to the ground and trying to create a new world for the hosts to live in which they are in charge of their own fates. At least, this is what Dolores' plan appears to be. Because this is not a straightforward rebellion, an us-against-them situation, it will be messy, as we see very clearly in this trailer. The main characters are doing different things with different motivations. Maeve is doing her thing. Bernard is doing his. The man in black is doing his, and so on. They are not all on Team Dolores or Team Delos by any stretch of the imagination. There will be some hosts on the side of humans, and some humans on the side of the hosts, and some who are just out for themselves. Jonathan Nolan has said that if Season 1 was about control, Season 2 is about chaos. But let's start where we ended last season. We see the aftermath of the party in which Dolores shot forward and then the host army turned on the guests. And it seems as if this played out exactly as it looked like it would. The ground is strewn with the guests' dead bodies, and a wolf pads through the debris. Dolores seems to have followed up from this massacre by chasing down any further opposition. This image was also in the teaser trailer, and is probably from early on in the season. We can't see exactly who she is running down and killing, but my best guess is that these are some of the survivors of the massacre. Expect this to be a theme in the early part of the season. There will be some survivors and random guests trapped in the park and trying to get to safety. Delos will be trying to rescue them, and Dolores will be trying to hunt them down. And she seems to be recruiting an army. Behind her here are some figures in masks that we see more clearly in this picture. We don't know, but they are probably the hosts we heard brief mention of in Season 1, who Ford created to terrorize guests and to herald the coming of Wyatt. So it makes sense for them to follow Dolores, as she is Wyatt. It's slightly more complicated than that, but I did another video on Wyatt if you're interested. We also have a few shots of the Ghost Nation, the mysterious Native American hosts we saw a few times in Season 1. They seem to have more of a role in Season 2, which is good, because they seem to have quite a lot of knowledge about the park, although it's still not clear exactly whose side they are on, if anyone's. There's also Teddy, although the only real shot we have of him here is this rather frightened or shocked face he is putting. It's a useful reminder that there are many horrors involved in any armed rebellion, and not all hosts will be as ready for it as Dolores. Some of the more sensitive hosts may not be up for a fight. Someone who definitely is up for a fight is Maeve. We left her returning to Westworld, or at least the Westworld control rooms, apparently in search of her daughter. It is her who, in this trailer, is leading the host cattle into a charge through the control centers of Westworld. The trailer focuses on this, and I suspect that it will look slightly different when it airs, but I think that it tells us a lot about how the overall season will pan out, with the hosts running riot against their human overlords. And I think it also goes some way to explain how Maeve fits into this. Whereas Dolores seems to be mainly focused on retaking the physical ground of Westworld from the humans by strength of force, Maeve will be operating more behind the scenes, on her own or with her small group of followers, underground in the management complex. But she will venture above ground at some point, I'm sure. Here she seems to have joined forces again with Hector, and although I may be reading too much into a very fuzzy image here, is that a lady in a kimono in the background? If so, it might imply that Maeve heads off to Samurai World. You'll remember that she passed by a group of samurai hosts and an SW sign when she was making her escape in the season finale. I mentioned earlier that there is also a Westworld website out there, offering some clues about Season 2. In particular, that there are 6 worlds in total, not just the one Westworld, although only 2 appear to be open to the public. I'll leave a link in the description. Anyway, regardless of whether Maeve is involved, ownership of the control rooms beneath Westworld will be crucial to the success of the rebellion. The hosts' key competitive advantages over the humans, the fact that they can be killed and then come back again, and that, like Maeve, they can potentially boost their own skills and abilities, is dependent on some kind of access to Westworld's facilities. Hence the battles we see there, in the main control room itself and in the background when we see Clementine here. Of course, access to the facilities is not enough. The hosts need to have the knowledge of how to use them, which is why Bernard is crucial. In Ford's absence, he is the one with the greatest knowledge of how hosts and the park operate. And in the trailer, Bernard's loyalties are quite hard to fathom. As the season starts, the humans will probably still think that he is a human, and he certainly seems to start off with the Delos security team. We saw this shot of them in the teaser trailer, which seems to be just before they arrive here and see all these dead bodies washed up on the shore. Perhaps this is the aftermath of the massacre. Anyway, Bernard is presumably at this point going through some kind of existential crisis, having discovered that he is not a human, and that the human his character is based on is responsible with Ford for the hosts being created in the first place. And so when we see him here, apparently walking through the Delos facility with a faceless host behind him, and then what looks like that same faceless host killing what looks like a technician, we have to wonder whether he has decided to switch sides. It's also a reminder that the hosts do not need to have human features. That was for the benefit of the guests. But what of the humans? Well, although Delos are clearly on the defensive initially, they will probably soon attempt to regain control of the park and rescue any stranded guests as per this expedition above ground. One thing that isn't apparent in this trailer, although we shouldn't read too much into silence here, is any sign of external police or army involvement. So it seems that the rebellion is being treated as an internal operation, despite the clear loss of life. This clearly seems to imply that the management of the park want to keep it as a going concern in some way. They don't want it bombed and all their assets ruined. This, of course, fits in with the theme of Season 1, that the board actually aren't as interested in Westworld as a theme park as they are in its intellectual property, gathered data and source codes. The last we heard, all that was going to be downloaded into Peter Abernathy's head, and he would be smuggled out of the park. But of course, here we see him being held down by security, so presumably he didn't make it. This data smuggling plotline is presumably carrying on into Season 2. Talking of the owners of the park, we saw a quick shot of the man in black here in the rain. That looks like Lawrence in the background, so this certainly seems to be a case of a host and human not being at each other's throats. And it also looks like we might be going back to the earlier timeline of Billy and Logan. In the middle of this group at a party is Logan from 30 years ago, so there's probably a good chance that we will pick up on that storyline. Perhaps we will find out how Logan escaped from being tied naked to a horse in the middle of Westworld, and also how William managed to gain control of Delos, the company that owns Westworld. The ownership of the park is something else that the Delos website refers to, as well as letting us know that this man is James Delos, the founder of Delos Incorporated, so he will presumably be around in this earlier timeline. There's also this brief appearance of Bernard, or Arnold, and Dolores. Given how relaxed both of them seem to be and how they are dressed, I think it's likely that this is also a scene from the past. Dolores seems to be dressed up, so perhaps she will be attending the same party as Logan. He certainly seems to be looking at someone or something with surprise and interest. And what else was there? We see someone playing piano with a couple of people looking on. This really could be anything, so if you have an idea, do let me know in the comments section. There's also a brief shot of an army. This looks like an American Civil War Confederate army. This might be the remains of the Confederados we saw in Season 1 or another group completely, but it is a reminder that there are a lot of hosts out there, many of which have fighting skills, and this group seems to have already made a start in stringing up their opponents. The other thing which is interesting about this trailer is how many of the key characters from Season 1 aren't in the trailer. We didn't see Charlotte Hale, for example, or Lise Sizemore, Felix, Armistice, Angela, Elsie, or indeed Ford, who, although shot in the season finale, may well return in some way, shape or form, particularly if there are multiple timelines. So, I think there is scope here for another trailer nearer to the air date, setting out the human response to this declaration of war by Dolores. So, this trailer shows us the chaos and confusion of the host's rebellion to a soundtrack of an adapted version of Runaway by Kanye West. If anything, Season 2 will be even more intricately plotted than Season 1, with multiple timelines again and lots of different plot lines advancing at different paces. And we have a premiere date. April the 22nd, which is a Sunday, and takes the old Game of Thrones spot in HBO's spring schedule. I will be producing breakdowns and explanations of every episode during the season, as well as live streams to chat through theories and share insights. So if you want to stay on top of all of Season 2 of Westworld, then please do click on the subscribe button. But what do you make of the trailer? What did I miss? Let me know in the comments below. Please do check out my Patreon page, and don't forget to subscribe here if you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. That's all for this time. I'll see you again soon.